All right, hey there, everybody. Rev Kev, getting the things set up here for today's live stream, where we are going to be painting and geeking out and hanging out together. So it's so great to have you here. So, checking a few things here, making sure that this is all connected, this is all working well. One of these days, I'll get really organized and really slick on doing this kind of stuff, and I'll have it all figured out and I'll know how to do it better. Perfect. Double checking on my phone here. Hey, Chris, thanks for popping by. Happy weekend to you as well. Hope all is well with you. Hope you had a great week. Ah, there we go. This is working. This is working. This is working. Get that. Perfect. There we go. So I can keep an eye on this. I can do this here like that. Perfect. So I can just keep that over here. And hopefully my site will work great. And hey there, Rivers RPG. Thanks for stopping by. Really great to have you here. Hope you had a great week as well. So today, well, I was hoping to live stream yesterday, and I thought with my schedule, Thursday evenings would be a good night to live stream. But I'm thinking more and more that this time slot on Friday is going to be my regular time to just jump on here. And really, the goal of this is, hang out, geek out, talk about some things while I'm painting. But really, I'm trying to re-discipline myself in painting. So I did some painting earlier this week. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see what I've done over there. I didn't do a live stream about this, but I painted these Imperial snow troopers. Let me double check that you can see these guys. And I used the speed paint a technique with these guys as well. Yeah, it doesn't really do a really good job of zooming in on them here, but these turned out fantastic. Like these are, my goodness, some of the best miniatures I have ever painted with these speed paints. And so I'm really thrilled with how they turned out. So I spent the week kind of experimenting with those guys. And last week on the chat here in the live stream, someone posted that I should look into this technique called SLAPCHOP. Now, I've never heard of that before. I have no clue what that even entails. So I went to YouTube and I watched a bunch of videos on SLAPCHOP. And what it is kind of the opposite. Normally, when I paint miniatures, I tend to, oh, hey, Chris, missed the channel I started with your son. A great idea, and hope you're able to do more there too. I know. Problem is, he's a young man with a young man's life. And 22 years old. He is like all over the place. Like even today, he's golfing. And it's been harder to sit down together with him. So we were actually just talking about it a couple of days ago, maybe trying to get that going again. Um, so everything that I've seen about speed paint has always been about, well, you want to have bright miniatures because the paint then kind of seeps in through the miniature and it's the white primer that highlights it. Like, in fact, I just started again doing some experimenting with General Grievous as well, just to start playing around with some techniques on him. Flat top is the opposite. If you start with dark miniatures and you do some dry brushing, you do dry brushing with some gray, and then you highlight your areas with some white, and then you use your speed paints. In the case of Imperial Guard, kind of different shades of red. So that's what I figured I would do tonight for a little bit before dinner time. And tonight I'm going to get Imperial Guards going. So I've got 4 Imperial Guard miniatures, and I figured you can't really do Imperial Guards without throwing in the Emperor as well. So I'm going to work on him at the same time. So let's get going here. I got a whole big roll of paper towels because when you're doing dry brushing, you need a whole lot of paper towels. And I'm going to start this off here with these Royal Guards. And I'm using army paint. I'm going to use ash gray here. Good to stick these up. I've been having problems with some of these bottles where the holes are kind of not coming out, like they're all dry, which dang. Yeah, these miniatures are really nice. These Imperial Guard, like my all the Star Wars Legion miniatures, I think are absolutely amazing. Like I've been collecting these miniatures for about 4 years now. Quite the collection of them. I've only played the game once in 4 years. I really, 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 really need to get into playing this game again. It's a fun game, but it's just life. I just haven't gotten around to it. So I'm just taking an old beaten up brush here and dip it into the gray. Yeah, and you really don't want all that much paint on here. That's why it's called dry brushing. What you're doing is you're taking off as much paint as possible. I need my goggles here so I can actually see what I'm doing because I have old man eyes now. And then we take our Imperial Guard and you just literally just go all across them, highlighting all the raised areas, and the dark areas stay dark. And you can see this actually brings out a whole lot of details really quickly with very minimal effort. This is why I tell people a lot when it comes to, painting miniatures, like playing a miniature game. So many people don't get into them because they think they can't paint, and it discourages them. It dissuades them from getting into a game because they just make this assumption that, well, they can't paint and they'll ruin the miniature, by attempting to paint because they're not, good artists. And what I tell people is so much of miniature painting is not being a good artist, but it's just learning the technique. It's more technique than talent. It really, really it is. And so I think, the more you just practice these techniques, you actually find you can get a really good, solid looking army or good, solid miniatures on the table with next to no effort. So, kind of getting a bunch of gray, making sure they stay dark in the recesses where I want it to stay dark, making sure I'm hitting on the areas that I want to make sure pop. Yeah, just like that. You can see got a whole bunch of really cool details already coming out of that one guard. I know what you mean. My eyes won't work like they don't work like they used to. I had great eyesight right until I turned about 48. And I turned 48 and then I got to paint with these things on. It actually really discouraged me for a while. And I was like, oh, I'm going to find another hobby, which is too bad because I really enjoy miniature painting. And I found these on Amazon for 20 bucks. So that's what saved me to keep going. So, and then we take this next guy. Again, just, again, it's a technique more than talent. You want to make sure that you're keeping those recesses dark, trying to hit it in such a way that it blends in. So you kind of make some nice highlights. Just like I said, then once this dries and we hit it with the color, then that's just going to make such a big difference. So it looks, I've seen, like I said, I watched a whole bunch of videos this past week on it, and it's pretty incredible the difference that this makes just from regular speed paint on a white miniature. It just really makes even more shading, which was really cool. So yeah, so hopefully everyone had a really good week here. And the first rule of painting, Chris here, there are no mistakes, only happy little accidents, right? Little Bob Ross, happy little tree, happy little cloud. And that's the beauty of art as well too. It is quite subjective. So what one person likes, another person doesn't like. So not to beat yourself up too much and enjoy it. It's supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. One of the things I've had to repeat to myself for the last couple of years as I've been working on mindset and trying to get back into this. It's like you're supposed to be doing this to relax. You're supposed to be doing this to have fun. So So yeah, so hopefully everyone had a really good week. It's been a pretty chill week here in my neck of the woods. And my daughter is out in the Middle East. She's been out in the Middle East since March, doing kind of humanitarian work out that way, and it's been really amazing to get updates from her. But she comes home in June. She's actually gonna be home for Father's Day, so I'm pretty thrilled about that. So, so there we go. Yeah, second one here, all done already with the first coat of gray. Beauty of this hot dry brushing technique too is actually it does dry really fast. It doesn't stay wet. You can actually get multiple layers done quite quickly in a unit like this. That was a fun week on the internet for Star Wars fans. I don't know if you heard about the getting my psych for our Star Wars Saga game tomorrow. Star, Star Wars Saga game. What's that? A role playing game or miniature game, board game? I'm not sure. Is that a specific thing that you're playing? No, I didn't know. I'd love to know what that is. Um, yeah, big news with the Star Wars hotel there, the Galaxy Star Cruiser at Disney World shutting down. That was pretty crazy. Yeah, my daughter's she's pretty awesome. She's got a big heart for people. Does a lot of work with kids and impoverished kids. It's really cool. Um, yeah, that Star Cruiser thing, man. When they kind of funny story here. So when they announced that they were making a Star Wars hotel, me being a big Star Wars guy, we had actually planned as a family that we were going to go there for my 50th birthday. I turned 50 2 years ago. We're going to go for my 50th birthday. And we had to wait for it to open. And then they started coming out with all the details that for a family of four, it was going to cost 6,000 American dollars. And so in my Canadian dollars, that comes up to about, $7,500. Just like just stupid money for 2, 3 days for a family of four. So it's like, well, that's never, ever, ever going to happen. I'm really quite bummed. But I've been looking forward to that family trip for quite a long time. And and then all the clips and all the news started coming out about that Star Wars hotel. And then I didn't feel so bad about not being able to go to it. So, yeah, see, bucket list thing. I totally get it. Like the Star Wars hotel closing. Honestly, kind of expecting eventually the price would like drop to a point where normal human beings could go to it. And you know what? Gone. I mean, I'm not a, obviously I'm not a big fan of the whole Disney sequel stuff, but the Rise of the Resistance ride is amazing. We were there January 2022. That ride was incredible. Traveler's Run was fine, but that Ride of the Resistance was epic. That was a really good ride. So would have liked to have gotten into that hotel eventually. Again, so here's guard number three. Yeah, just even this technique, man, just like this, just highlighting them like this turns out so good. So basically just putting a little tiny bit on the brush and then taking it off to the paper towel and then just swiping, swipe or no swiping. Still had kids during the door of the Explorer days. Go through, picking up all the high areas. And dry brushing used to be a technique that I used to do back in the day. The way you did it is you painted something and then you would highlight, like dry brush like this, kind of like your highlight colors on top of it. And then, so that there was that technique that was really popular for a while. And then blending became really popular for a while. So there's different techniques that are coming out that people are discovering. So it really just and it just depends on what kind of gamer you want to be. Like are you like painting these things to enter painting competition? Or are you just painting these so that they look good on the table? Like you don't want them to look like garbage, right? And so there's so many techniques now. And these speed paints honestly are a game changer. Like they really, really are. Like again, these snow troopers that I put together, like these guys I wish my camera was better so you could really see the detail of it, but these, and this is like was a white, um, it's called Holy White speed paint. This stuff, oh my goodness, like it just turned out perfect. Like and then I went to the 501st site to look specifically at all the parts so I could highlight the lights and make the boots a little bit of a different color and the pouches a different color. Like it, these speed paints changed everything. And I did those 6 miniatures in less than 3 hours. And they're not just like cable quality, like they're they're competition quality. Like they they're I mean they wouldn't win, but I'd get pretty far in a competition. So these paints really, really changed the game. Really help. I hope will help more people get into the hobby and try painting a little bit more. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm really shocked how great they came out. So there we go. Guard number 4. And then last but not least, we'll get the Emperor in here. Just a little down. I do want to make sure I get its hands nice and done and his face nice and done as well because I'm going to want his tail. Just keep going back and forth. Yeah, so pretty crazy about that Star Wars hotel. And then just before my son left to go golfing, we were just chatting about the Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny, and the reviews coming out from the Cannes Film Festival. And it's sitting, it's the last time I checked, it was sitting at like a 43% Rotten Tomato score. Like, oh, that's not cool. Like, again, I don't really have high hopes for this movie, but 43, crazy. And I mean, what's kind of really crazy about it is, again, if you believe YouTube, I don't, is every time a movie gets a bad critic score, people go online and say, well, because the movie's amazing and it's like it just doesn't have any identity politics stuff in it, or it's just such a great film that's true to the original, and then the reporters don't like it because it's not progressive enough. That's why it's a low score, right? But then in other movies, when it's got a low score, then people use it to justify it's gonna be a crappy movie. So I think the whole debate on this stuff is pretty funny and all of that. But yeah, man, I got a bad feeling about that movie. Like it never really jumped out at me with any of the clips or anything that they're releasing so far about it. So here we got the Emperor coming in hot. Yeah, so we want the hand. Good thing. Good highlights on the hand, good highlights on the face so that they're not too dark. I want them to be nice and pale as well there. And that's it. That's the first coat. Like really is that simple to get started. So we'll do that. We're gonna brush here. I think I'm gonna use a smaller dry brush. I just ordered new brushes from Amazon. They're supposed to be here yesterday. They did the 1 day shipping and they're coming tomorrow. Like 3 days. I don't know why. It is what it is. Okay, so now we're gonna take some white. So I just take the matte white, give it a good shake. This one's nearly empty, so I gotta pick up another one when I hit the hobby store this week. Just a little dab there. I stopped paying attention to ratings or shows and movies when the Willow Disney series got positive reviews. Right? See, that's the problem, right? They review it based on progressive ideology, and again, I don't have a problem with that. I kind of expect that from a Hollywood movie. But like that's what you're using to evaluate what a good movie is and what a not good movie is. You might be missing the boat of being a movie reviewer instead of being a you know social commentator. Right, so now we just put a little bit of white. And then we'll go get these in order here so you know how they're drying. a little bit of white. Now again, so for this, I'm not going to do as much. It's just to really hit and highlight certain areas that I want to pop more. So kind of like the edges, tops of boots, these parts of the cloak, the hand, key parts of the helmet. And just literally just dabbing this on. And then hopefully see that. So again, just making some parts a little brighter here. So that it will change the shading of the speed paint when I put that on. And what I try to do too is I try to imagine a light source kind of hitting them. So I'm imagining that this guy's standing here like this, and the light is hitting him from this direction, from the top. So the top is brighter, this shoulder is brighter than the other shoulder, the back, the top of the back is brighter than the bottom of the cape. Just kind of imagine a little bit of a light source. You know, one side of the helmet is brighter, like that. And then consistently, I want all of them, all four guards, to have the light hitting from the same direction. So kind of like if they were all standing in line, it's the same source of light that's hitting them. So I've got it coming from their left side here. Yeah. Just get that a little bit, put that on like that. Yeah. Interesting on the stream that I did last week. So I made like I mentioned, and I mentioned this in most of my videos, is all the proceeds that I make from YouTube, we use for child sponsorship with Compassion Canada. So my church and my family, we support children through Compassion Canada. There's a child sponsorship program similar to like World Vision, some of the other organizations you may have heard of. But we partner specifically with World Vision, and we have a project going with several other churches across our city. And we partner with a number of churches and compassion centers in Guatemala. And so we've been doing this work now since about 2019 is when we started it. And so what I do is the proceeds that I make from my regular revenue, my ad revenue, goes to paying for a sponsor child. I make about $40 a month on YouTube for my ads. And so that's the cost of a child sponsor. So I got a second. We had the one that we were doing as a family, and then we got another one. And so every time my YouTube channel goes up by 40 bucks a month, I'm going to sponsor more kids. And when we do special things or special streams, or when we get super chats or memberships come in, I use those. And there's like a special donation for the project that we do. And so I make donations like every quarter on that. So that's kind of how I do that. And so, yeah, so it's just kind of fun to be able to use this little hobby, you know, to give back a little bit. So if you want to consider being a member, or if you know, super chats or anything like that, that's where it goes to. I'm not asking for anything, but if it's on your heart to do so, that's where it goes. And that was interesting in the last video. Like I just talked about this. I don't even think I put a link to it or anything. And Compassion International put a comment, well, hey, that's really cool. Thanks so much. I'm like, they know it's they know I did it. Well, maybe because I've got the link in the description. Maybe that's how they found it. But anyways, it was kind of cool. Um, so yeah, we're actually hoping and planning a trip to Guatemala. I have a meeting. When do I have that meeting? I think at the end of June. I think at the end of June I've got a meeting to discuss the possibility of getting a team to go to Guatemala. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go. I would love to go, and I know my wife would really, really love to go. But I got to go on the last few trips. So, like in when did I last travel? In November, I was in Peru, kind of looking at how we could do more to help some impoverished areas in Medellin. Sorry, not Peru, sorry, Colombia. I was in Colombia. So we're looking at how we can help out more impoverished areas in Medellin, Colombia. So I was there for that trip. That was really awesome. That was a great trip. And then I was in Lebanon as well with the medical team uh, back in 2019, right before everything shut down. So it was like November 2019. I went with a team of doctors and nurses to Beirut and went there to kind of help out there. So that was a real blessing as well. So that was cool. But yeah, so I think because I've done quite a bit of traveling, I think other people in the team, I think it's their turn. Now, a buddy of mine who's on my staff, he's trying to get me. His family's originally, well, he's from Uganda, and so his family still lives in Uganda, so he's trying to get me to go with him to Uganda. So again, I'll pray about that. We'll see about that. That's a possibility of a trip I'd love to be able to do in the next year or so. I just think it's been kind of cool to take geek culture stuff, to take hobby stuff, and have some fun with it. We all get some enjoyment from it, but also kind of give back, be a blessing a little bit too. I think that's fun. Oh, error message thing. There's an error with the server. I've got my cell phone over here so I can see the chat. So, 'cause I'm using OBS. So that's how I'm doing the multiple camera thing. So I'm using OBS to do that instead of using StreamYard. So the only drag is by doing it this way. So if I had someone who, yeah, I got a friend who pops in online, like a they could join me for a little bit and chat and hang out. Can't invite guests this way. That's why I can't share or put on the screen when you chat or put something in the chat because this doesn't this tool doesn't work that way. At least not that I can find it. Maybe it does a whole bunch of things I don't know yet. So yeah, so here are the guards are all done. So the 2-layer approach, we got the dark gray, light gray. And maybe if I just put the emperor beside, you can see the difference how the emperor here, so he's a lot darker than the other ones. Kind of look like really cool marble statues right now. OBS is the program. Yeah, OBS stands for Open Broadcast Studio. So it's a free software that you can use. You could put in multiple cameras, multiple sources. Like there's ways that, I mean, if I do it, like you can program multiple scenes. So let me do a test here. Like if I pick a different scene, it's all messed up, but you can see how they're pre-programmed. So I could have like different things in the background. I could have different things there. Um, you could also have like that's how some channels have a camera, and then they show like a web browser or they show like movie clips or different things like that. So it's free software and it's super crazy powerful. Um, it's what we use for all of our streaming at my church. Like we do live streaming on the weekends, and we have several hundred people that watch it during the week. And this is the tool that we use. We just use the free stuff. Okay, here we go. Keep saying error with the server. Not too sure what's going on there. Okay, so now with the emperor, I really, yeah, I want a smaller brush for him. Let me watch this. Smaller brush here, mainly because I really want to get the face well, and I don't want to get too much of the hood because I don't want it too bright. But I really want to make sure I get the face in here. Are you using two? Exactly. I've got two webcams. So I've got an ICANN webcam here, and then this one I got, I don't know what it is, Creative, Creative 4K. And what I like about this one here, the one that I'm using to aim down, it's got a little button that I can automatically hit to automatically zoom in. So yeah, so I've got two different webcams that are with it. And then I could even set up the webcam that's in my laptop. So I got my laptop set up over here. So you can have like 3 cameras going all at the same time, multiple angles. You get different audio sources. So a program to take the audio from my AirPods. It's a really, really cool tool, and a lot. I learned how to do it watching YouTube videos. There's great YouTube videos on how to set it up. Multiple cameras, multiple scenes, like tons of things. You can just jump around, do a whole lot of different things with it. It's really, really slick. I'm able to hand that. I will do just a little bit. I don't want to do too much white on the Emperor because I want him darker. Okay, that's annoying. I got to figure out how to turn off ads in the middle of a live stream. I didn't know it did that. Yeah, I know my YouTube channel, like, I mean, I'm so grateful for everyone who subscribes and who comes and part of the community and members and all of that. I do it for kicks and giggles. I do it to meet people and I do it to have fun. Um, the, the money for Compassion Canada is a bonus. I'm trying to quit my job and become a professional YouTuber or anything like that. So I find there's so many things that YouTube does, and I have no clue because I've just never taken the time to really learn it yet. So, and that's all I'm gonna do. Like, I really don't want a lot of white on the Emperor because it's gonna be significantly darker. So that's the first step. Well, the first 2 steps: the gray, and then the white. That's the first 2 steps for the flat chop technique. So now what we're gonna do, like I said last week, we lick our brushes because we're gross. Because that's how you get a nice good tip. And I got two. I got slaughter red and I got blood red. I think those were the only 2 reds that came with this set. I think I had another red. No, that's yellow. So I think I'm gonna go. The blood red looks significantly. No, it looks darker in the bottle, but the image of it here, like the picture that gives you this here, it looks brighter than that one. It's hard to tell. You know what? Let's just put a couple here in the palette and see what it looks like. That looks really dark. So that's the slaughter red. And then we got blood red, which I really can't tell the difference. So I'm just going to take an executive decision. I'm going to go with blood red for the Royal Guard. That's what I'm going to use. And I got my thinner, paint medium. This helps to thin it down just a tad. Just a drop of that. And then I'm going to go here. This is where the magic begins. Again, this is why it's not about being a great artist, it's about the technique. Now, I did notice on the website I was looking at, their gloves are more of a purple, their gloves and boots are more of a purple color than red. I don't really see that much in the movie, but in the pictures, the costumes, you see it. So I don't want to hit the glove and I don't want to hit the boot. And then you just give it a nice thick coat, avoiding the areas that you want to avoid. Because of the shading work that was done and because of the style of this paint, it just drips in and highlight the highlighted areas. It gets darker in the fold where it's darker because of the black undercoat. I don't know if you can hear my cat crying behind me. I don't know where she wants. She is eventually going to jump up on this table. See? Knew she was going to do that. What are you doing? Get out! Get out of here. Really? You're going to sit right there. Stay. Guess I should have put her outside. Okay. What are you doing? Come here. Just gonna move my camera for 1 second. You're ruining my live stream, cat. So there we go. Silly cat. There we go. Nah, I was gentle to her, so don't put a clip about me on YouTube being mean to my cat. Blood makes the grass grow green. There we go. Just keep going. Hitting the whole model, letting the paint do all the work. Slow. And there's the first one here. It's kind of hard to tell because he's wet and tiny, but I'll let that dry for a bit and we'll check it out again in a second. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, man. I really appreciate you coming by. Go have a great dinner. What are your favorite Star Wars movies outside of the original trilogy? That's a great question. Favorite Star Wars movies outside of the original trilogy? Hmm. I was not a fan of the prequels. So because I was an original trilogy guy, right? Like again, I'm older, so I saw Star Wars in the theater. I lived Star Wars as a kid, original trilogy, and so the prequels. It's not that I hated the prequels, but I was disappointed with the prequels. I thought they just could have done so much more with the story of the prequel. In fact, I would have just started episode one. I would have started episode one where episode two ended. I would have started it with the Clone Wars and just introduced Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi right there in the Clone Wars. All the political stuff, everything in episode one was easily dealt with during the Clone Wars. So little disappointed by the prequels. So, but never hated them. Never hated them. Sequel trilogy, I actually really liked The Force Awakens when it came out. I was a huge fan. I went and saw The Force Awakens in the theater 11 times the first December when it came out. Um, and I loved it, loved it, loved it. Even though I knew it was kind of a reboot of A New Hope, the whole bigger Death Star thing was silly, but I just thought it set up so many great things, and I was stoked and I was excited about everywhere that it was going to go. And then the other two movies are just a major letdown. Major letdown. Okay, so here we go. The second one already done here. Letting the paint drip down into the cape and do the work for me. And then, then apart from that, there's not really, I did not like Rogue One. I know I get a lot of weird looks on that one because everyone's like, it's the best Disney Star Wars movie. I actually never liked it. I thought it was boring and I thought it didn't add anything to the story. And it was all just eye candy. And yeah, I didn't like it. So, and I know I'm in a minority on that one. And I liked Solo. Solo was a little disjointed, but it was a fun movie. And so I enjoyed that movie. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Kind of don't really have favorites outside of the original trilogy. Like I like everything, but I like every I liked everything. Well, that's not true. I did not like The Last Jedi. I did not like The Rise of Skywalker. Um, again, difference between the prequels, where the prequels I was disappointed. The sequel trilogy I hated, which is so too bad because I was so stoked and so excited for it, and I really thought it was going to do some cool stuff. Yeah, what I use? Water red, blood red, not really blood red. Yeah, so these guys are coming out pretty dark. So I may have to do a little bit of highlighting with this. Um, it's not too bad. It's a little dark. Mhm. So yeah, how about you? What was your favorite Star Wars movie? Put that there in the chat. Yeah, so if I were to say what was my favorite Disney Star Wars movie, I would actually have to say Solo. I actually thought Solo, out of all of them, apart from The Force Awakens, but Solo felt like Star Wars for me. So I enjoyed that one. It would have been okay to see where that one went. Politely disagree. I thought Rogue One was great. I know everyone loved it. I get it. I'm really the odd man out on like Rogue One. It's funny. I actually found my original. I think it was Twitter or Facebook. I can't remember what I was using, but my social media post coming out of the theater, and I literally said, coming out of the theater, big waste of time, added nothing to the Star Wars story. Um, and then I got like crucified by every single person I know online. So it's like, mm, yeah. And I am a sucker. I keep hoping beyond hope that they're going to turn the ship around. It's, you know, I don't do a lot of stuff on my channel about the Star Wars show. They do a little bit from time to time. Um, I didn't like Kenobi. I didn't like the book Boba Fett. Loved the first two seasons of The Mandalorian. Didn't like season three. It's boring. It's boring. There's like nothing going on. Um, it felt like they didn't even know what they were doing with the story. Um, never finished Andor, and I know, whoops, I dropped that on my hand here. Didn't, even though everyone tells me it's fantastic, everyone loves it. I just never got around to finishing it. So maybe I'll do that during my summer vacation. I actually did really like Star Wars Rebels. I was a big fan of that one when that first came out. Season two, I thought was amazing when they brought in Vader. You know, I thought they did all right making their own version of Grand Admiral Thrawn. I was fine with that. Again, I don't expect these things to be like the book. I know they're far from the book, and I don't expect that. So it's easy for me to kind of go, okay, just appreciate what they've done with it. So I loved Rebels. In fact, one of my favorite characters was old Captain Rex. Cosplay him at a number of, I used to cosplay him at a number of events. Nice. Had a thicker beard, shaved head. Cool. So that is this. So now the thing about the speed paint is before I can highlight or do anything with them, you do got to let this dry because they will kind of re-pick up and they move and feel and things like that if you put another paint on top of it too early. So again, these are a little darker than I would have liked. Nothing crazy about the actor Solo didn't remind me of Harrison Ford at all. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he was an odd choice. He was an odd choice for a young Han Solo because wasn't he about the same age as Harrison Ford when Harrison Ford played Han Solo? Like, wasn't a big enough age gap there for him to be young Han Solo. They literally should have got, I don't want to say a kid, but teenager anyways, like a young adult, like someone who was young. Okay, so then now for the Emperor, saying there is a black. Is there a black one? Looking at my different speed paints here. There's a grim black, but I think that's going to come out way too dark. I haven't tried that one yet, but that I don't want to risk. So I'm going to do this one here, this Grey Lord Grey. I'm rewatching the entire saga with my son. Oh, that's very cool. Your son's name Anakin? That's really selective. Okay. Not up to Obi-Wan now. We both really liked Rebels, and the Ahsoka show looks like it will continue that. Yeah, I agree. Ahsoka looks like a sequel to Star Wars Rebels. Totally, totally, totally. Totally think that's what that's gonna be. Okay. Oops. I need my medium in here. We got that going. And again, let's really look at this highlighted. We just put this paint on. Just make it gray and dark. Look and feel like the Emperor. Glasses keep sliding down. Might not have been dark enough. Maybe. Let me tell. Let's see what it looks like when it dries, and maybe if I put a second coat on it too, it will help it out. The parts that I highlighted are looking a little too highlighted. Yeah, this is definitely going to get a second coat. But, it's a favorite Star Wars story of all time would be Knights of the Old Republic. Oh, that's cool. To be honest, I actually don't know a lot about that era. I've read this is my entire expanded universe collection that's just over here on my right. So if I'm referring to something over here, that's what I'm pointing to. Um, I read a couple of the books. What were the Old Republic books I read? I read the Revan book and the Deceived book. I really like those. Those are both really good books. I haven't read Fatal Alliance or Annihilation yet. Um, oh, and the Darth Bane trilogy. Loved, loved, loved that trilogy. It was really epic. Ah, dang it. I really should put this guy on the holder, but I'm going through a lot of miniatures fast. I want to be switching it out. But, um, yeah, and here's the, I never played the Knights of the Old Republic video game either. So I actually have it on my laptop. I downloaded it with hog.com where you get like old games. I do have it. I just never played it. Yeah, I think I paid like $4.99 for it. Mm. So well, this is actually looking okay. This is actually looking good. I think when I do a second coat, once it dries, it'll really make it better because again, his cloaks are black. Because you really, it's one of the things I actually love to do if you're like painting Star Wars miniatures, painting Star Wars stuff like this. The 501st Legion, which is the official kind of like movie accurate costuming club of Star Wars costumes, you can go to their website and they have full detailed pictures of every single costume. It's called the Costume Reference Library, the CRL, Costume Reference Library, the 501st.com. you can get the full details of every costume. You can see where all the lights are, all the different colors and everything like that. And so that's what I do when I paint miniatures like this. I go to that website first, have a quick look at them, and then you realize like, oh, I always thought that was this color, but then when you can really see it up close, it's not that, it's something else. So the Emperor, you think he's wearing like just this black cloak, but it's a very, 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 very dark gray. I hope this comes out more like this. Again, because he's wet, he's shining. You can't really see the details yet. You'll see it better when it dries. Mm, That's that first coat on him. And then what I'm going to do for the guards, going to reach over here. I should have grabbed that beforehand. Um, it just came back from Disneyland. It says a lot. We got more Star Wars enjoyment out of Tomorrowland out of the news from the Galaxy's Edge. That's very interesting. I've actually never been to Disneyland. Is there a big difference there at Disneyland? For the stuff that they have available compared to Disney World? Curious about that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a couple of drops of purple to my red that I already got out here to change the color for the gloves to make them a little bit more purpley and for the boots and for the gloves. Love the Emperor miniature, although it's neat to see him ever walking out onto a battlefield. Right? Okay, so I wasn't gonna buy him for exactly that reason. Like I get that Star Wars Legion isn't a story-based game. Like again, it's more of a tournament play game. Um, Basically meaning, you could fight rebels against rebels and empire against empire, and it doesn't really matter as long as you don't have unique characters. I think that's the only rule. Um, and I don't like that. I actually way prefer story-driven games. And so, yeah, like you said, seeing the Emperor walking around on the battle getting taken out by basic rebel soldiers or something like that, it's like, yeah, no. So if I ever get back into playing this game, even though everyone else is going to be making lists to win, I'm going to be making lists based on the story. That's just the way I am. That's the way I play Star Wars. I used to play Star Wars Legion as well. And when I play Star Wars Legion, that's the way I would play. I'd make my list based on if I saw this in the movie, if I saw this in a show, that's the way I'm going to do it. And then I get slaughtered because other people are making their list to win, which I wasn't doing. Yeah, this is good. Just adding a little bit of purple to these colors and gives it a bit of a difference, not a ton. I didn't want them to look crazy different, but it gives it enough of a difference to make it look, you can clearly see it's a different shade. Nice. This food. Disney World is much bigger and has more to explore, but most of the cool rides are identical. Except that's what I kind of thought. And we were in Disney World for the January 2022. And we went and if you follow the Drunk 3PO channel, and I know a lot of people on my channel follow him. Got to have lunch with Jay. So that was a lot of fun. Kind of connect with him, have lunch together. Definitely a highlight of the trip. Super nice guy. He's been very, very encouraging in the early days of me starting up this channel. So it was cool to have a lunch with him. Yeah, we got to do Ride of the Resistance, which I thought was incredible. Like, I just wish it would be like original trilogy characters in the story. That's just me. But that ride, man, was mind-blowingly cool. Honestly, and like my favorite part was actually in the shuttle at the very beginning when you're escaping in the shuttle. I thought that was incredible. But the Millennium Falcon ride was all right. It was fun. We were in line and we got stuck. We were in line for a long time and we got stuck as engineers. And I had heard online that if you get the engineers, you might as well just get back in line because you're going to hate the ride. And there were two little kids who got put as the pilots and they didn't want to do it. So we got bumped at the last second to be the pilots, my son and I. So we were super stoked. We got to fly in a Falcon. It was really fun. Because the purple mix and my red mix are nearly, there's just a slight difference to them. I'm actually going over and hitting areas that I missed with it, with the red. I'm not worried about it looking odd. Won't even be noticeable. So again, these come out really slick looking. Every Galaxy Edge experience was just, this would be so much better if it was the original trilogy. I know, right? Like, I kept saying the whole day, it's like, oh, it'd be so much better if it was Luke Skywalker. It'd be so much better if it was Vader. It's like, dude, Kevin, shut up and just enjoy it. Which we did. We actually had a really good day with just my son and I, my daughter and my wife didn't come with us. We kind of went as kind of a Christmas present to each other. We bought a couple of tickets. Because again, couldn't believe how expensive it was. Like in the we went to, last time was at Disney World like 8 years ago. And then to go last year, I don't know if that was just a post-pandemic thing and they jacked up all the prices. Oh my goodness. It was like, there's no way I could go there with a family of four. It was insane. Absolutely insane. Oh, yeah. This guy looking really, really slick. So currently out really good. See that. Again, the beauty of this flat shop format is, again, because we started with a black miniature, highlighted it gray, then did a little bit of highlight of white. And it just really helps the speed paint to blend in nicely. So I'm just gonna finish off one last thing here, and then I'm gonna have to get ready for dinner as well. Yeah, that Super Mario Land looks amazing. So awesome. I don't think we have any plans to go down to Florida again anytime soon, but it'd be cool if we could. So for the Emperor's Flesh, we use a pallid bone. It's kind of a nice kind of zombie type of color here. That face. And there we go. Nice kind of old Emperor yellowy kind of. Again, he's still drying, so I gotta be very careful with him. These paints really suck if you hit them when they're drying. Like I pulled chunks off of other miniatures, things like that. It's great if you buy the $40 power band. There's only one ride you can go on. Oh, really? Oof, okay. Good to know. It looks really impressive. Coolio. So that's the first phase of this slap chop. So I just thought I'd come on here and hang out. Let's see if I can zoom in on this guy here. The special zoom feature. And again, we got, oh, we go. I'm trying to see the details a little bit in the cape. See how where it was dark. Kind of, this really helps it blend in a lot more. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, I like this red a lot. I was a little concerned about it at the beginning that it looked a little too dark. Now that it's drying, it's drying nice. So I think if I let these guys just sit, seed paint, they really recommend you let it dry for like 24 hours before you put another coat of it on. So I'll let these guys sit for a little bit, and then I will check them out afterwards. And then quickly before I sign off, I am just gonna go here and I'm going to take, I need to touch up Just put these buckles back on here. Um, I hit the sword. I mean, not the swords, but the pikes that they have. Yeah, I'm gonna let it dry before I do the weapons because there is some bleeding happening from the red, and if I hit too close, then it's gonna like go all the way up the weapon, and I really don't want to do that. So I'm gonna let that dry. So that's it for tonight. I just wanted to jump on here, do some little bit of painting again, holding me accountable, keeping me painting, keep me painting. Got a whole bunch of Star Wars miniatures here that are unpainted. I got up here, my second shelf, I got a whole bunch of Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures that are not painted. And I made a promise to my wife, I'm not buying any more miniatures until everything in here is painted. And so that's the deal. So no more miniatures until everything in here is painted. So after I finish these Imperial Guards and the Emperor, I think I'm gonna move into what do I got? I got a few more Clone Wars miniatures I gotta paint. I got like the speeder art. I got that I want to get done. And then I got like some of the big models. So I've got like the ATST and I got the snow speeder. And I actually got myself Christmas, I got an airbrush, which I've never used before. Not used airbrush. I don't know anything about it. I've just been watching some YouTube videos to learn how to do it. So that's what I'm gonna do. So thanks for being here on this journey with me to get my Star Wars Legion collection painted. Maybe I'll actually have a game night. I'll invite a buddy over and we'll actually try playing this game together finally. So that's it for tonight. I'll sign off. But again, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting. Really appreciate you guys coming by. Thanks, Chris and Evan and everyone else who's poked in and popped in. Really appreciate it. Yeah, if you know, haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so. And just really appreciate you being a part of the community here. So until the next video, God bless you. And we'll talk to you again